right, everybody, welcome back to the It's All Happening podcast. I am so excited to be back behind the mic and also to be back interviewing some of my favorite human beings on earth. Today is an incredibly special guest and a little bit of a different episode because I am bringing on my friend. I would call her sister, family at this point, old mentee, Jenn Maroney, onto the podcast to speak into both the beauty and the magic of who she is and what she does, but also this incredible collaboration that we are coming together and birthing out into the world right now that feels so big and so necessary and so beautiful and deserves a space on this platform to really invite, but also simultaneously inspire anyone who is on the path feeling a nudge towards taking a big step into something that they're feeling really called to do and they don't know why, or maybe doesn't logically or linearly make sense with how they normally would go about living their lives, and kind of the moments in time where we've done that and how it has created such massive and beautiful transformation in our lives. So Jenn Maroney is a breathwork facilitator, and I don't know, I would say like all around health and wellness. I don't know why the word guru is coming through right now, but a woman who is just has a incredible story and a God-sized mission of teaching women into the ways of being liberated through the body. And that is what our collaboration is about. So without further ado, and before I talk to you about the collaboration, Jenn, just introduce yourself. Who are you? Why are you here?
Hi. I'm so excited. It's really funny to reflect back and like to be sitting here right now with you because for so long I like low-key stalked your journey through Instagram, and I would just be watching how you showed up and I'm like, gosh, I need to be in this woman's world. She gets it. She is speaking directly into my soul. It's like you were reading my diary. And so now to have been in your energy and your space for over a year and be held by you in my own transformation, to now be linking arms with you and birthing this beautiful experience. It's just like a full circle wild moment, and just speaks to how powerful and amazing God is, the way he interweaves and brings people together. So yeah, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for allowing me to be on this space with you. Like you said, I am a breathwork facilitator, retreat host. My background is in mental health. So I spent about 13 years in that sector of the world, offering individual and group counseling, and really just noticed a huge gap in the industry. We were focusing so much of our time and our energy on changing our thoughts, which is great. And I love that work, positive affirmations, all the things. But there was a real missing piece here where we weren't bringing the body on board. And I noticed that in my own healing journey, I would often say, man, I feel like I'm a square peg trying to fit into a round hole. Like nothing was linking up. I knew intellectually all of these things, but still was self-sabotaging and not taking the steps that I needed. And so I was introduced to somebody talking to me about, where do you feel that in your body? And my initial response was like, huh? What? I don't, what do you mean? Where do I feel this in my
I
body?
have a
And so,
body.
yeah, exactly. I was not even recognizing that I was so disconnected from my actual body that I'm walking around with every day. I couldn't even answer simple questions like that. And, that just didn't sit well with me. And I said, if this is, think I'm a pretty intelligent human being. And if I'm struggling with this, I know there are other people out there kind of having that same struggle. And so I really dove deep into somatic work and got certified in somatic coaching as well as breath work, and just now have been spending the past several years navigating and working with men and women to, come back home and remember that everything that they need is within them.
So beautiful. When you were talking about the full circle moment of like landing here on this podcast and this collaboration, it just gave me like full body chills because, of course, first of all, like fully received when somebody's like, I've been stalking you and watching your journey. And it's like, I don't think people often realize that when you are as the creator, I don't have that sense, like I don't feel that way about myself if that makes sense. Like, I'm starting to, right?
Totally.
I'm living into my biggest expression, and I feel very authentically expressed and have come home to a lot of love for who I am, but not the same level of like admiration and inspiration that other people reflect back to me. So just to hear from, and like even thinking back to the way our relationships so naturally evolved from just like little likes here and there on Instagram to little messages here and there. And I think I even received a message from you one day that was like, whatever you have, I want some of that. And now to be here in this moment, knowing the journey that we've been on together, and also the mission and the purpose that you have had on your heart from the beginning of our mentorship time, which was to create a big retreat business, to be continuously creating these incredible spaces to facilitate that kind of somatic healing and reconnection that we don't even realize in the Western world we are missing until we're introduced to it, right? Like, so many people have that phenomenon of somebody all of a sudden somewhere at some point being like, well, where do you feel that in your body? And it's like, I don't, my feelings are in my mind.
Right.
When, like, when you sit down and take it in for a moment, it's like, oh, feelings are the expression of energy inside of our body, and how liberating it can be to devote yourself to a journey of whatever that those practices look like for you to actually liberate that energy from your body. So um quick question for you before we dive into our collaboration and kind of why we dropped in here is, how have you noticed a shift from your work in the mental health space and also the like healing work you were doing on yourself in like that version to branching out into somatics and breath work and like really feeling into the energy in the body? How has that created, like, how is that different from what, how are you different now from when you were just solely taking it from the aspect of the mind?
Mm. That's such a powerful and great question. And it's funny and kind of sad also, because if I'm sitting here and as you were saying that, I'm replaying myself and I'm seeing myself so clearly in these settings with people and holding space for people, and I feel like I've always been a really good space holder. I meet people where they're at, but I never once asked someone a question about their body ever. And now when I'm interacting with people, like that's the first thing I'm talking about. Like, do you feel safe in your system? Like, what does that mean? Okay, let's talk about that. I mean, I wasn't even having the conversations with people about that. And I feel sad about that a little bit when I look back. I'm like, dang, did I drop the ball on those people? But when you know better, you do better. And I just didn't know. I was, taught and trained to be behavioral therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, right? Talk to people about their mindset. But I could tell you I'm beautiful all day, every day in the mirror. But at the end of the day, if I'm looking at my body and think I look like a garbage can, my body hears that. My
Mm-hmm.
body has literally anchored that in, and it knows, right? The body keeps the score. So I feel like I'm such a stronger clinician than I ever was before, and just so much more attuned, even to my own journey, right? Like I notice now I'm so much more aware when I'm being activated. I have tuned into those different sensations in my body and have gotten much more curious rather than just allowing my thoughts to run rampant. So it's been a journey.
Yeah. Immediately my mind, like, I keep just wanting to repeat the word like liberated. Like, I have witnessed you liberate yourself over the past year and a half, and that like on the other side of becoming liberated, right, through this work, like literally liberating the energy inside of your body, liberating your mind from being too afraid to feel those sensations inside of your body, and like that it doesn't actually look and feel like anything that we thought it was going to on the other side, right? Like when you're out in the world and you're feeling like something's missing and I'm seeking liberation or freedom in some way. We were just having this conversation right before we hopped on. We've been very conditioned in our Western world to believe that that liberation is outside of ourselves, in things, in experiences, in material, in success, as in like being able to check things off of a to-do list of I've achieved this and this and this and this. And we have so many examples inside of our society who have turned around and said, like, it ain't it. It's not, it's never going to satiate those gaping energetic wounds inside of your body that are causing you to act and chase for those things, right? So I know we were just kind of talking about the journey of getting to this place, not only within our relationship where we're collaborating on building this God-sized vision around hosting incredibly liberating women's retreats, but the journey that we have to go on because of the way that we've been conditioned in our Western world that allows us to let go of the visions of what we think we need in big money and big success and big business and cars and houses and all of the things, and how beautifully that all just kind of falls away as you do become liberated inside of your body. I would love to hear from your perspective kind of how that has shifted for you.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm just, as I'm hearing you talk about all of those things and how we've been conditioned, money, status, it just instantly takes me back to a different time in my life where I was chasing all of those things. Perfect marriage, picket white fence, stacked bank account, being able to wear the fancy clothes and do all of the things. And when I found myself at a crossroads in my life and had really made some negative choices that took me down some not so great places, and I was stripped of all of those things, right? Marriage was failed, I lost my job, I lost all of my money, and when I didn't have those things, I was like, who am I? And I had no idea. I had no idea who I was outside of those things. And that really just didn't sit well with me at all. And that is really when my journey began of like, who is Jenn? Who is Jenn when she's not attaching herself to the title of wife, of, entrepreneur or corporate mental health practitioner? And it was a wild journey. And I think, to speak on some of the stuff you're saying, I do think that we're in a culture right now too, where they try to make this journey look really warm and fuzzy all the time. And, cool vibes only. We're all happy all the time. And if I just sit down for 5 minutes and do this thing, then I'm going to be a magical unicorn and all of the wealth and abundance is going to come to me. And, I really just want to break that narrative in half because it was a beautiful experience. It's a challenging experience. It's a heartbreaking experience. And it's a journey. And I think I'm still kind of on that journey. But the difference is now I have stopped looking for all of this external validation to tell me who I am in this world. I get all of my, medicine that I need both from myself and my relationship with God. I look internally and I look up. I was spending so much time on this horizontal landscape looking, oh, what does that person have? What are they doing? Oh, I need that. I need this thing. And it's no. The harsh reality is without all of those things, like who am I without that? And I had to sit with that and explore that. And then, of course, for me, bringing God on board and realizing that that was all I really needed.
Oh, I love that you brought God into the chat.
Always.
Obviously, you know me and my relationship to God.
Jesus is my homie.
And it's so interesting to just really deeply reflect on, again, the ways in which we all were conditioned and the shame that can bring up inside of your body, right? Of like having to internally recognize and turn inside out this story that we were given, but we didn't ask for, that all of these accolades and material things are going to be what fulfills us, right? Because it was just conditioned into our society. It is a part of the Western colonial paradigm that I see now through the work that we are doing from the inside out. We are dismantling, right? Because if we can reach out into the world and begin teaching people, like, actually none of that matters, right? Instead of this furious, like, picking up and picking up and picking up and picking up that we've been taught to do. And we're actually like, what have you tried putting down?
Mm.
Like putting down the idea that you need to be X, Y, or Z, or putting down the idea that you need to have X, Y, or Z. Like what happens when you put all of that down? And your story is so similar to so many people's. I feel like we're all living out these individualized versions of the same walk home to God, though, because it's like what happened in your life that stripped you of all of the things, all of the masks, all of the armor that you put on that you thought would eventually get you to this place of feeling satiated and liberated and abundant, right? And for me, I think back to, I always tell this story of like I got to the end of the life instructions. Like I feel like society gave you this, like you go to school, then you go to college, you get good grades, you get a degree, you get a good job, you get married, you get a house, and then you live happily ever after. Like the only thing I hadn't checked off the list was kids. And thank God I didn't, because then I feel like I would have been felt even more stuck in the security of all of the checked boxes that I had acquired. But I had all of the things, right? I had a home, I had the job, the paycheck, the benefits, the everything, right? It was like building wealth, building the American dream that we've been sold. And it was in that moment, finally, that I say I got to the end of the instructions and was like, wait a second. I'm only, I, at the time I was only 26, 27 years old. Is this what I do now for the rest of my life? Is just like work and pay bills and pray for the day that I can go on vacation, and pray for the day when it's been enough time since I used my last sick day so that I can call out again so that I can have more freedom. Like, is this what it
Right.
is? And it sends you on that journey, or it sent me, it sent you on that journey of like, if this ain't it, and this is exactly what I was told it is, what is it? And how individualized that is for every single person. But this, I mean, and I know that we both have such long, incredible, beautiful stories of like what led us back home to the experience of God inside of our bodies, which is fiercely attributed to somatic work and breath work and excavating the spaces and places inside of our beings that were in direct kind of opposition to feeling worthy of letting that love and that kind of life force in. But I want to speak specifically to, well, I guess let's go here first. The offering, the collaboration Jenn and I are doing right now is a retreat in Tuscany this fall at the end of September. And it
Can
is
you
called
even? Oh,
Liberated. It is called Liberated. The purpose, the passion behind the entire retreat is to take you out of your everyday, ordinary, habitual way of being into this beautiful dream come true space and place and experience, right? Like let's not talk to that part as well. And into these practices and way of being over a 7-day period that is literally going to help you begin to find the safety inside of yourself to excavate all of that which is in the way of you actually living an in the present moment liberated experience.
so good. I want to go. Ah, I get to go. That sounds amazing. I mean, I'm obsessed with this. I from the moment that you and I sat down and started crafting this, like it was such a full body yes, no brainer in my body. Everyone needs this, right? Like we've said, like I didn't know what I didn't know. And so our goal in creating this, first of all, like let's maybe we can even talk about how incredible having being in this retreat type space where you have this set time where you really get to step away from your day to day. And I kind of tell people it's like a collapsing of time around your healing because you are shut off from your normal day to day and your to-do list, and you're really focused and held in such an incredible space to really go there.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that both of us have this intention of creating a space that, like, when you walk away, you are going to be a changed human being. Like, this experience will change your life if you choose to lean in, and walking away with real, tangible tools that you can start implementing right away. And that's super important for me in creating these spaces. So often people are like telling you all of the things, like you can have this amazing life and this and this and this. But how? but how, right? What is the how? And I know you feel the same way. It's like we want to actually equip you with the how. So while you're held there in this space with us, you can go there and then you'll have a beautiful tool belt full of tools to take with you when you leave to continue on that journey. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I pray for anybody hearing this that you can literally already feel the energy behind this creation. Because I didn't already speak to this, but like, let's paint a picture of this. Jenn was a mentee of mine for about a year, and we spent a lot, and like the healer and client or mentor mentee relationship is healing for both sides, right? Like you're both learning so much through the experience of being in a conscious and devoted relationship with one another, right? And through that experience, I witnessed you go from the woman who believes she needs more in numbers, more in business, bigger. It's not going to work out for like every story in the book, right? As to why you could not experience liberation. And from that point until where you are now, while your external reality doesn't look wildly different, your internal presence and like who you are and how you create and how you are standing up and speaking out in the world is completely different, right? And that is the lesson or education or information that I want to offer people around liberation. Because another thing we were just talking about before we got on here is like Jenn and I entered the spiritual coaching, personal development space, I think relatively around the same time, right? Like be it me for me now, 4-ish, I don't
Yeah.
know what is time, 3-4 years ago. And everything was about money and numbers and your Stripe account, and it was like this very like spiritually intertwined with boss babe like evolution that was happening inside of the industry, and it was playing on people's wounds that we all carry of not enoughness and this Western ideology of success and more and greed and hunger for money and external success, right? And I think we've had many conversations around this of being in these spaces with women who were so activating, right? Who had clearly done a ton of healing work on themselves, who were running really beautiful businesses, who were offering really beautiful spaces for people to get introspective and learn how to heal and all of these things. And it was very driven by money results. It was very driven by how big and how quick are you building a business that is going to be the thing that liberates you, right? And I think where we kind of like have always seen eye to eye was like, okay, I walked into these spaces and they were like, think good thoughts and quantum leap and explode your business and X, Y, and Z, all of these results. But we were like, but like, how?
Right.
Right? How? And either, I'm sure many of these women had done a great deal of healing, but they weren't talking about the depths that their healing actually took them to in order for them to get to that place. Or I think there's also been a lot of just like this luxury lifestyle marketing that has nothing to do with the reality of the liberation that can only come through the healing process that we are so passionate about bringing women on. So, kind of circling it back to like, let's even talk about it here. Like, what is that how? What is the how? How are we going to help women liberate themselves through their bodies during this experience?
Oof. I'm not going to tell you.
I'm gonna gatekeep.
No. I mean, we just have so many yummy surprises in store here. And I love that you spoke to that. And that was, just to pour back into you for a moment. I mean, that was a huge piece of why I was so drawn to you as a mentor and someone that I knew that I wanted to be in space with, because you kept it real. I think both of us are, and I think when I started on my journey also, like I really struggled with taking that mask off, that I've got it. I've got it all together. It's all perfect. And I even started my journey like that when I got into the entrepreneur world, and it just wasn't working for me. I was like, if I just think it and I believe it enough, right? It's going to happen, like you said, and you're just sitting there when it doesn't, and you're like, man, what is wrong with me? Why can't I figure this out? Something's wrong with me. I'm not enough. It seems so easy for them. And it's just not enough people speaking to the depth that you have to go on this healing journey. And like I said earlier, it's not all rays of sunshines and unicorns. It gets very dark and heavy, and having to meet so many different levels of yourself. And can you meet those levels with love and compassion? So to answer your question, I went on a tangent there. What are we offering? I mean, I think we're offering a space to get real, to get raw, to get honest, and creating a space where you can do that in a really safe way and feel held in your experience.
Mm-hmm.
You can feel normalized in your experience, right? I want all parts of you to show up for this retreat and to be known and to be seen, and like, hey, it's cool. Like, I've been there too. And like, almost like, I don't want to ever feel like when you come into our spaces that we're way up here and you're down here. Like, and I know, I think I feel that way too when I was working with you. When I was in the depths of some of my mess, I felt like you just crawled down there with me and you laid next to me and you were like, okay, all right, cool. What about this? And you kind of took me and held me and helped elevate me to be a mirror almost, right? When I can't remember things, I feel like you were always there to remind me, to hold up the mirror to remind me when those voices got a little too loud or I started to get into that not enoughness. And that's the kind of space that I know that we're cultivating for this experience, along with offering them the somatic tools and the experiences to, like, what does it feel like to just be in this body, in this experience, and allow yourself the full spectrum. You know, where have you been playing small in your life, and giving people the permission slip in this space to explore that?
Yeah. So good. It's so good. I immediately think about without giving away too many details, but the like orchestration of the creation of a space like this from beginning to end. And like, we are leaving no stones unturned, no details unintentionally created. And I just want to paint the picture of like, from the moment you walk into this space, it is an invitation into full surrender, right? Of like, we've got you, everything is taken care of. You don't have to think about a damn thing. You can shut off your phone, not talk to a single soul in the outside world if you don't want to. Like, there is nothing for you to do except be. And how that in and of itself, massive initiation, massive aspect to healing, massive like, wait a second, what does my body even do if I don't have anything that I have to do, that I have to show up for, that I have to be responsible for? If I'm just literally, I get this feeling of like, you are just literally being like carried and stewarded through this entire experience that has been consciously and so intentionally curated to allow you over and over and over again the practice of sinking into presence in your body, whatever that means and whatever comes up. And there will be moments of like absolute awe and wonder, moments of like stepping foot into the space for the first time and being like, I can't believe I said yes to this. And here I am, and it's happening, and this is my life, and I made this happen. Like, that moment in itself, transformation, healing process, like right there, just the yes and the being willing and able and open to making it happen for yourself, right? And then everything from the like nourishment of the nutrition that we're going to be offering to the workshops and the somatic experiences, and then the excursions that we are going to go on that are going to flow from like, yes, we can go deep into what's in your body and what needs to get out of the way. But then once we get that stuff out of the way, we're going to go play.
Yes.
In like the most embodied, beautiful, fully expressed way all over Tuscany. Like,
Say less. I'm there.
I literally got that again. Like, damn, I want to go. Wait, I do get to go.
I get to go. Yes. I love the way, I love the way you spoke to that. And, you know, just as I was saying, it's all not rainbow and sunshine. We also do get to lean into that play. I always say, like, these experiences, this retreat gets to be healing and adventure, make a baby. And that is what we are creating, to give you a space to land, to be held, to rest, to receive, and to reconnect with what lights you up. So many of us, I feel like, are living on autopilot, like you were speaking to earlier. Like, is this as good as it gets? And we just settle. And I think both of us have this big mission on our hearts of like, no, it just gets to get better and better and better and better. The more connected in you get to yourself, the more you realize that nothing in your external is going to fill this hole that you have inside of yourself. You have it all here. Like, the name of my business is You Are the Medicine. And that is just what I practice and try to preach every single day into my clients and pour into this experience, is like, you have it. It's there.
Yeah.
And like tapping back into it.
Yeah. And tapping back into like following that through line of liberation and what that actually means, right? So having this awakening around, if it doesn't mean the success and the cars and the to-dos and the relationship and the this and the that, right? What does it mean? What is liberation and what is the experience of that? And that's what it is that we are working to curate and offer through this experience, is the how, the grounded how to actually physically somatically liberate yourself from the contracted energies inside of your body, and then taking those practices home with you, right? And then curating these experiences of presence through your senses, through smell, through touch, through taste, through connection and communication, and feeling into the energy of intimacy with other women. Like, all of those things create an energetic vibration that then your body like can't unlearn. Like, you don't go through this experience and like, yes, there's always an integration period, because you are going to go back to your life, you're going to go back to your habits, you're going to go back to your schedule, you're going to go back to all of those things. And also, our intention is, how do you take this medicine bag of what we've offered you and the embodied energetic experience of this week together and integrate it back into that life, so that life gets to transform because you have transformed, not because you're pushing and forcing and doing more and ripping apart your life, right? But because you have learned to practice and embody being present with everything that life has to offer. And I love that you brought up that part about like, we've talked a lot about the depth that we want to go in this retreat, right? And it takes a lot of listening to the moment and what each woman who shows up to the space actually really needs. We don't really have control over the depth of what comes up for any woman, but the intention behind all of it is like, can you be present for whatever it is, right? Because retreats are so exciting and enlivening and expansive and all of those juicy, beautiful feelings. And being in a space with 7 women for a week, it brings some shit up, right? Like, there are things that are going to come to the surface, and how willing can you be through the practices we're going to offer and the experiences we're going to share with you to just be present with that? Be present with that, allow it to be seen, allow it to be held by very safe and embodied women, right? Because it is through those experiences of allowing yourself to see the discomfort and the contraction inside of your body and allowing yourself to be seen in that discomfort and contraction that alchemization happens, and it gets to turn into more spaciousness, right? More freedom, more liberation, which is the goal of this entire experience.
Yes. So good.
So I want to branch a little into like, why retreats? Like, how have retreats changed your life? What is different about like, what is different about a retreat space from just like an online virtual community or an online course or a one-to-one experience with a mentor and a healer? Like, why say yes to such a big experience?
Well, for me, and I kind of spoke on this a little bit earlier, I needed to, sometimes you just have to shake shit up. Sorry if I can't curse on your podcast,
You
but I
can
just
say whatever
did.
the fuck you want on my podcast.
Boom. Okay. So sometimes you just have to literally be taken out of your physical environment and shake shit up. And so for me, I was in this journey of liberating myself and reconnecting with myself, but I was still in that day to day of like, all right, well, got to go to work, got to come home, got to cook the meal, got to do this, da, 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 da. And so I needed a reset of like, pull me out of my day to day autopilot routine, put me in some spectacular setting, because I mean, who doesn't love being pampered and finding yourself like out of your normal day to day of what you're seeing? Um, and the other really important piece for me was healing the sisterhood wound. I don't want to go too deep into that, but we have these experiences where we have cultivated from growing up and being around other women. And for me, it was I have often struggled with feeling like, women aren't a safe place for me to land. I don't
Mm,
have anyone to really hold me in my experiences. And I wanted to shift that narrative because I think there's so much beauty in us having these partnerships with women, and the connection and the community. And so that's another huge piece of this, is bringing women together of these all different walks of life, to be able, and different ages, to be able to sit down and like share unique experiences together. And there's such a beautiful bonding that takes place when we put ourselves in this capsule, this little bubble of being in the retreat space. And like I said
mm,
earlier, I think it's just an opportunity to collapse time around your healing. Because, right, when you're doing an online course or even one on one, it's a 1 hour, I'm logged in, I'm here, da da da. Okay, cool. I slam my laptop shut and then I'm right off back to the races of where I was before. And oftentimes, the thing that I have learned, I took no time to integrate, and I'm just moving on to the next thing.
yeah.
And so having a designated space with facilitators that have done this work and are prepared and have created their energy bubble around us to really hold it, it's just, to me, so powerful. Like, I remember the very first retreat I went to, and just as soon as I walked in there, right, and I locked eyes with the facilitators, and the way they held me with such care, and the way they had just carefully and beautifully curated this space, I was just brought to tears, Molly. Like, as soon as I walked in, I didn't even know why. I wrote it in my journal that night. I am crying and I don't even know why. And it was because of this intentional space that was created. And it felt like it was, I just felt so special,
Yeah.
you know?
It is. It's like a cocoon or a womb, like a place that, first of all,
Yes.
there's like a magic that only women can build for women. 100%. There is a healing kind of magic that can only be created for women by women. 100%. Like it just is. Our experiences on this earth are incredibly unique. I mean, we don't have the time to go into like the portal that is our womb and our cyclical nature and the ways in which we have been, whether it's intentional or unintentional. I don't know, right? How society has evolved into this separation and this severing of woman from woman into competition, right? And it is in these longer form spaces where you are communing with women that you get to tap back into that magic that we've been separated from our entire lives. Like you might be stepping into a retreat and you may have never before sat in a circle with women who have all come together for the same reason, to just love and see and be seen and be supported and support. And like that in and of itself creates an energetic frequency of, oh, my nervous system can relax here, right?
Yes.
That's where that crying you're talking about of stepping onto your first retreat is, because you stepped into a space where your body felt safe, and it just allows the body to begin to process having that energetic space set and held. And for me, one of the biggest things I've been reflecting on as we've been navigating the creation and the launch of this whole thing is, how have retreats, like why retreats for me, right? Because I know it's been your God-sized mission for that to be the basis of your business, is being an international retreat host. And it's been something that's been on my heart and mind since the very beginning of my journey as well, because my journey started in a retreat space. I didn't know exactly why I was going into it, but I booked myself a 12-day immersive yoga teacher training, and it was on a beach in a little beach house only about 45 minutes away from my home. But the magic that happened of exactly what you're talking about, exiting out of my day-to-day life, which is from like an energy healing standpoint, I want to explain this to people. Your day-to-day life is coded with the habits and narratives and thoughts and feelings and programs of your day-to-day life, right? There's a reason why life can start to feel like you're just running on this hamster wheel, because everything in your external reality is internally associated to the regular wiring and programs and habits that you are already running. That's why people will say that, I think it's up to, I might be butchering this, but like 80% of our lives are run on autopilot,
Mhm.
because we don't want to have to think about the choices that we're choosing, right? So when you take yourself out of that day to day and you plant yourself in this beautiful experience that was created for you to find safety in your nervous system and have a place to discharge and have a place to connect, you are automatically disengaging some of that natural, automatic, subconscious wiring, right? You can't have the same subconscious programs running because you're not in the same place where those subconscious programs live in a
Absolutely.
day-to-day basis, right?
Yeah.
And then I just think about like something that's come on so strongly for me. I did that 12-day experience and it changed freaking everything. Like I had aha moments and realizations and revelations like I had never had in my life, because I had the spaciousness to be able to do so, right? You're putting down the phone, you're putting down the relationships, you're putting down all of your responsibilities, and your only responsibility is to be with yourself. And when you have an extended period of time where you are getting to be with yourself, that is where the intuition comes online. That is where the things that you've been hiding from yourself for so long have the spaciousness to come through and speak to you. And like that's where realization and revelation and true transformation really gets to happen. I didn't mean to rhyme there all in a row. But I think about any time that I have said yes, and I've gone on now four. I've gone on four. I've facilitated one and I've co-facilitated one retreat. So I have quite a bit of experience of being in retreat spaces. And every single one of those yeses that I have said was met with immediate resistance of why I couldn't afford it, why I couldn't take the time, why I didn't deserve it, even if that was on a subconscious level, right? So something I want to speak into is the level of healing that begins to happen when you actually just shift your mindset into like, but what if I could? And like, what would that look like? And what if I actually allowed my mind and body to break down what it would look like for me to be able to become the woman who gets myself to this experience, right? This is why people will say healing starts to happen from the moment you say yes, because you're saying yes to stepping into a version of yourself that makes things like these deep dreams that you have on your heart and these desires you have to travel and to connect and to be in community, which we all innately have at the core of our being. You're stepping into making that come true for yourself.
Yes. That was fire. I don't even know how to follow up on that. That was so beautiful. That was perfect.
It's been sending me on such a spiral of thinking of like how vastly healing a retreat is, like from the moment of the yes and the investment to the connection with the group of women who are going to be there. I want to throw this in there that we're going to do, did I might be butchering this, but we are going to do like a pre-coaching for about
Yes.
4 weeks before, and we're going to do a post-integration as well. So we're not just like throwing this experience at you and then leaving you high and dry on the like, how do I integrate this? We're going to be like touching back in and like, what does life look like now, and how are you integrating these practices and this sort of presence with yourself into your life, right? But from the moment you say yes and you start to make that investment and you build towards making that dream come true for yourself, I just, every time we drop into the like energy of this retreat, I see women having that experience of like walking out the doors of this villa and looking out into Tuscany, and there's like a warm cup of coffee or cacao in your hands, and you're like, I have full body chills right now. Like
Me
I
too.
did this.
I did this. Yes.
This is my
That's
life right now. I am, and even that, it's like you're just dropped into presence of like, I am living the life of my dreams because I've just made a dream of mine come true and I'm inside of it right now.
so good.
And that in and of itself changes something on a cellular level, on a mental level. Like you begin to gain this momentum and capacity to believe in the ability that you have to say yes to the things that are actually lighting your soul on fire.
100%. I
And
love it.
that's what we are doing with this retreat.
Yes.
That is what we are offering. That is the prayer that we are putting out to the world. It is not just like come with us to Italy and fuck around. It's like there is so much intention and beauty being birthed through this space. And the last thing I will say, and I'll throw it over to you to see if there's any last things that you want to say, is going back to what we were talking about in the beginning of doing this deep excavation work to actually become liberated inside of our beings beyond external accolades or material things, right? This like coming home to God is the process that both Jenn and I have gone through and continue to devote our lives to be the vessels for this creation to come to life. Like, I just want to speak a little magic into the reality of when you do this work to come back home to God, back to connection with your soul, back in union with your intuition and this very feminine aspect of being, you receive like you're open to receive the information that is the creation of these huge dreams that you have for your life. Like, I've been wanting to step into the retreat space for years. And this is I've run one of my own. This is the first time that it ever feels like I'm just getting out of like this thing is fucking awesome and it's going to be epic and all of the right women are going to enter the space and it's not about me. It's not about me. It's about walking women back home to the liberation that you can only ignite inside of your body once you've realized, remembered, and reconnected to God, source, spirit, life force. I don't care what you call it, love, like, and that is what it is that we are bringing to the world through this experience.
I'm so excited. I'm just I'm excited for I've got full body chills. Like I'm just already envisioning the women that are going to enter into this space and come out changed human beings. And that just lights my soul on fire. Like why am I doing this? Because I want every single woman to feel that liberation, to have that deep knowing and connection and just living life out loud, you know? No
Mm,
more playing small, no more, just this is as good as it gets.
yeah.
I want everybody
I
that
can, it's
comes
not for
here.
me. Like,
Yeah, all of that. Like I am here and ready to, guide you. You're here ready to guide these women to that like empowered yes and claiming this liberation.
mm. Wow. So, for anybody who is interested after all of that, we are currently, the way that we're doing this is we're taking application through calls. We want to get on a call with you. We want to feel into your energy. We want to see, like, does this really feel like a great time for you? Does it feel like a good fit? And then from there, we are welcoming women in right now with only a $500 deposit. We have an early bird discount that is running until March 17th for the first few women who say yes to this space. You're going to receive $300 off. If you are listening to this and you're like, me and my best friend, or me and this soul sister who I know but I've yet to meet in person, like, we are offering a $500 discount when you sign up with someone else. Both of you will get $500 off. So there's like so much incentive to say your yes. And we are so here to work with you through the resistance of making that yes come to life. Like, we are offering payment plans. We are here to support and guide and help you, yeah, step into that embodied yes around this experience. Not from this place of like, we need you there and we need to fill spaces, from this place of like, what is being created through us is something that is going to be absolutely life changing for the women who hear the call and answer it and step in. And we just want as many women as possible to experience that. And side note, we're only going to be taking between 8 and 10 women. We're feeling into it.
Yes, yes. We want to keep this as like a nice intimate container. But yeah, absolutely. I echo what you just said. Like if you were listening to this whole time and your body was tingling and you were leaning in, like, yeah, that feels good, or that really lands, man, it seems like she was reading my diary. Like, reach out. Let's have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
Money does not need to be a reason why you do not, lean into this experience. Let's have a conversation about it. We want to be here to, I want you to feel stretched, in this investment in yourself. But like asking yourself, this investment, like how, if you could see your life completely different from when you walk in those doors to us at the, September 19th and when you're going back home, like your life could be an entirely different masterpiece at the end of that 7 days.
And like, what is that? My brain always goes to like, what is that worth to you, right? It is so easy to listen to the programming that says like, I don't and I can't, and to immediately come up with all of those reasons as to why you can't. But I want to shift you into that, like, but what if I could, right? Something that somebody said to me when I was early on in my journey was like, you're going to spend that money anyway. You're going to spend that money anyway, but you're going to spend it on $10 coffees and going out to lunch and going out to dinner. And like, what if you really want to become someone who makes a vision like this come to life for yourself? What is it that you're willing to do to make that happen? And again, that being such a huge piece of where the transformation even starts. Yeah. So reach out. I'm going to put the link for everything below. Also, like, just spend some time on the landing page, because every time I look at it, I'm like, oh, yes, I want to go to this retreat. I get to go to this retreat. And on the landing page, all the way down on the bottom, you'll see an option to book a call. Jenn and I have set aside specific times throughout the week where you will either meet with her or me or both of us if we can both make it happen. All you have to do is book one of those calls, no strings attached. We're literally just going to have a conversation. And I want to hear your like, why are you called to this? Why are you interested? What have you been seeking? What is it that you want to evolve into, right? So we can really plant the seeds of that intention and hold you through the actualization of that happening for you.
Yes. Let's go.
Let's go. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with me. Thank you so much for reaching out and asking me to do this with you. Like, guys,
yes!
this is Jenn's seed that she planted. And if I could take one more moment to just speak to the absolute magic of life, I had literally started praying to God about, okay, I know the power and impact that can be created by retreats because it has happened to me time and time and time again. And I'm ready and it's time to like step into that role, but I don't want to do it alone. When I tell you, like a week later, Jenn was like, how would you feel about doing a retreat with me? I was like,
oh, touche, God. Touche.
Got it, God. Great. And the entire experience of this has been so beautiful and so guided. And I can't wait to have the moment of walking out the villa doors with my coffee and being like, I can't believe this is my life right now.
Right? Same.
And to facilitate that space for any of you listening who, you know who you are. You're feeling yourself lean in. You listen to the end of this podcast. You're feeling a stirring maybe in the center of your belly or your heart. Or you're somebody who's like, I've always wanted to do that, but think to all of the reasons why you have said no, or you haven't allowed yourself, or you've surrendered to the resistance, as opposed to letting yourself actually dream your way into making something so epic and so special and so magical and so transformational happen for yourself.
It's time, babes. Let's go.
Let's go. All right. Like I said, I'm going to drop that link down below. If anybody has any questions, I'm also going to put Jenn's Instagram handle so you can connect with her as well. If anybody has any questions, you can reach out to me on Instagram. You can reach out to Jenn on Instagram. We are here to field and hold all of your questions and to facilitate getting you inside of this experience with us.
That's right. We'll see you in September.
We'll see you in September in Tuscany.